Hello everyone and welcome back. As promised, this is the second part to the Chapter 8 chat from Wired for Story by Lisa Cron. So let's get right on into it. So a story plays out on two levels at once, the internal struggle and the external events. So you have to make sure that you have two levels of cause and effect as well, which is plot-wise, surface level, and then story-wise, which is in deeper. And that gets us to our next myth and reality. Myth is show, don't tell is literal. Don't tell me John is sad, show him crying. And the reality of the matter, which doesn't get discussed nearly often enough, and I know that I am a culprit. When I taught fifth grade writing, I told them show, don't tell. Show me what's going on. Don't say John is mad. Say John punched the wall. But the reality is that it's figurative. Don't tell me John is sad. Tell me why he's sad. So, yes, it's absolutely beautiful to discuss the glint of light on broken glass, as that quote goes. I don't remember who said it, but as that quote goes, it's beautiful to have that imagery. But you also want to tell me why the window is broken. So, Mrs. Horan came in the house and found moonlight glinting silver off of broken glass in her hallway, the baseball sitting neatly between the shards. She knew those boys had been out playing again. That is show, don't tell. Not they hit the baseball through the window again. I can see the window glinting because the moon's on the glass, or whatever that sentence just was. Let's see the event unfold. So does show, don't tell ever refer to showing something physically? Usually in about two instances. When we already know why and when it is a purely visual subject at hand. Okay? So it gives us the put your money where your mouth is test. So since story both internally and externally revolves around whether the protagonist achieves his goal, and the cause and effect wheel, large and small, must bring him closer to the answer every time it turns. The question is, put your money where your mouth is. He's going to have everything taken away from him until all of the sudden the clock runs down. It's now and never. I have to make this decision, or I have to get this done, or whatever it is. I have to change. I have to do this now. If we don't take away all of his rationalizations, all of the reasons why he can say, well, I can put this off, I can rationalize, here's the reason I can't do this right now, etc., then it's not the end of the story. And maximizing the catapult. This one is that to guarantee the stakes ratchet ever upward, you want to make sure you've infused each cause with enough firepower to trigger an effect that packs an unexpected yet perfectly logical wallop. If you have seen the movie The Graduate, then you might understand what they're saying. Benjamin Braddock he doesn't want to date Mrs. Robertson's daughter, Elaine, and then he kind of pushes her away and is just a really huge, horrible person, and then falls for her and wants to try to win her back, all the while not mentioning, things like, hey, guess how I lost my virginity? If you haven't seen that movie, you should watch that movie. It's a good movie. Anyway, so we need to ask ourselves, has the protagonist changed? Having weighed his option, given what was at stake, and then made a decision, does he now see things differently than he did when the scene opened? And do we know why he made the decision he did? As in, can we read it and find that there? Because if it's just in the author's brain, it's not helping the reader at all. So it's the protagonist's internal reaction to what happened that dictates what happens next and gives it meaning. Cause and effect does not mean predictable. And if you have a cause without an effect, then your reader will get really, really, really frustrated with your story. The deviation becomes the lens through which we filter the entire action. We are always, always thinking that the effect's going to show up. So if we have a cause and then the entire book, nothing happens about it. Then when we reach the end, we think it's part of the big climax and it's not there. And people aren't going to want to read your book anymore. They're going to get very frustrated. They're not going to read other things you've written. They're going to tell their friends not to read what you've written. They're going to rate your book really badly, all of those things. And it changes how they interpret the entire story, which is probably not a good thing usually. It says, think about each thing you add to your story like a drop of paint falling into a bowl of clear water. Each drop spreads and colors everything. So every piece of new information causes us to reevaluate the meaning and emotional weight of everything else that preceded it. Every action has a cause and a consequence. So we can change this into a math test, which I don't know why you would. But every scene must in some way be caused by the decision, move forward, make the scene that follows it inevitable, and provide insight into characters. So I'm not going to continue to read the rest of that list, but it says a digression is any piece of information we don't need and therefore don't know what to do with. So everything in a story must be there for a reason. You shouldn't have digressions. And when you are asking about whether or not it's a digression, you should give it the and so test. What's the point? How does it further the story? How does it go with the story, etc.? Often the answer is it doesn't. So use and so. Read it over, and whenever you meet with a passage that you're not sure if it connects, say and so, and try to connect it back to the story, basically. And then we reach the checkpoint. So number 8 is, does your story follow a cause and effect trajectory beginning on page 1 so that each scene is triggered by the one that preceded it? Does everything in your story's cause and effect trajectory revolve around the protagonist's quest or story question? Are your story's external events, as in the plot, spurred by the protagonist's evolving internal cause and effect trajectory? When your protagonist makes a decision, is it always clear how she arrived at it, especially when she's changing her mind about something? Does each scene follow the action-reaction-decision pattern? As in, get the rhythm stuck in your head. Every scene must have an action, the reaction to the action, and the decision about whatever just happened in order to resolve the scene. If you don't understand quite how that works, you might go watch something like a crime scene drama. NCIS is a great one to watch. There's always an action and a reaction, even if it's just them talking. I don't know why I keep doing this with my shoulders every video, but I like it. And finally, can you answer the and so to everything in the story? Ask the question relentlessly like a 4-year-old, and the minute you can't answer, know that you're likely in the company of a darling, a digression, or something else likely to cause your story to go directly into a free fall. So, this one was, I think, the longest chapter so far in Wired for Story. We have 4 chapters left to go, guys. Stick with me. I will be back to you soon with chapter 9. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me comments, likes, subscriptions if you're new, and I'll see you soon. Bye.